The Last of Us Episode 6 picks up 3 months after the events of Kansas City. Joe and Ellie encounter a couple living in the mountains and confirm they've traveled into the middle of nowhere. The couple informs them any place that used to have people is no longer safe, such as Cody, Wyoming, and that it is not safe to travel west since they periodically spot dead bodies of people and infected across a river. This scene is a tone shift compared to how the previous episode ended. The previous episode ended on a depressed moment. Joel witnessed the death of 2 brothers who loved each other and buried them before him and Ellie continued on their journey to Wyoming. This episode opens up with a lot of quibbing. Despite Joel and Ellie holding the couple at gunpoint, the couple continues to crack jokes. It felt like watching a scene from a Disney Marvel show, which feels out of place.
What about the fireflies?
We get those in the summer.
Not the bugs, the people.
There are firefly people?
Joe and Ellie leave the couple and continue west, hoping to find Joel's brother Tommy. Joe pauses after suffering a minor anxiety attack. Despite Ellie's concern, Joe brushes her off. They arrive at the river and decide to camp for the night. They discuss what each of them would do if a cure was successfully created. Joel, in a not-so-serious manner, said he'd start a sheep farm. Ellie, however, hints that she wishes to be an astronaut while living in the quarantine zone because when living in the quarantine zone, she can only look up at the sky to see something different. Ellie hesitates though and questions whether a cure can be made from her blood. The next morning, Joel oversleeps, likely due to the lack of sleep because of his anxiety and PTSD. Ellie states she followed Joel's instructions and stood guard. Despite Joel saying she should have woken him up, he thanks her. This not only shows Ellie is slowly learning from Joel and becoming independent, but also shows the trust between them. Joe and Ellie cross a river and don't seem to run into hostiles. However, after finding a hydro dam that used to supply electricity, Ellie notices another river and questions if this is the river the couple was referring to. Soon after, a group on horseback suddenly arrive and start questioning Joel. A dog is used to sniff them to see if they are infected and confirms they are both not infected, which makes no sense. In the first episode, despite Ellie being bitten and immune, she still tested positive for the infection, meaning the fungus is still inside of her. Because of this, the dog should have attacked her just as the people on horseback said, but instead, the dog acts friendly. This makes no sense. After Joe states he's looking for his brother, without mentioning who his brother is, it just turns out someone who knows Tommy is part of the new group and decides to take Joel and Ellie into her settlement, Jackson, Wyoming. The settlement is thriving and Joel's reunited with his brother. While eating a meal, Tommy, his wife, Joel, and Ellie have an awkward conversation, mainly because of how vulgar Ellie is acting.
Actually, I don't think I've ever had a proper meal. This is fucking amazing. What? What about her manners?
Kids around here don't usually look or talk like you.
Right. Well, maybe I'll teach them. A couple of 9-year-olds shitting themselves out there.
Do you have any idea how ridiculous you sound?
I understand Ellie isn't afraid to swear as a means to keep up her tough girl facade, but this is just cringe and edgy. We get a quick tour of the town and learn how the town operates.
Collective ownership.
So, communism.
Nah, it ain't like that.
It is that, literally. This is the commune. We're communists.
Oh, no.
This makes no sense. First of all, if Tommy's wife was elected to be on the council, then why is she out on patrols beyond Jackson where she could potentially die? It makes no sense for one of the leaders of the settlement to put herself in danger. Tommy states the resources in the town are collectively owned by everyone, yet everyone in the settlement has their own home to live in. Tommy's wife states the settlement is a communist settlement, yet she was democratically elected into a position of power.
This is the worst.
Joel and Tommy have a private conversation, where Joel lies about how he found Tommy and that Tess is still alive. Joel explains Ellie is related to some hire of Firefly and that he's trying to find them. He asks Tommy to come with him, but Tommy says he can't go. They both acknowledge they did bad things in the past to survive because they didn't know a better way to survive. Tommy also says he's going to have a baby and can't leave. Joel is indifferent about the news, upsetting Tommy. Joel leaves and again has an anxiety attack. While outside, he sees a woman that reminds him of his daughter. Why the hell did Tommy's wife give Ellie, a teenage girl, a contraceptive diaphragm?
I can't even sit through this. This is like a human rights violation. This is. I mean,
Ellie and Tommy's wife have a tense conversation, in which Ellie learns about Joel's daughter, Sarah. Tommy's wife warns Ellie about trusting people because the only people who can betray you are those you trust, which is contradicting advice. If Tommy's wife believes this, then why would she trust Tommy enough to marry him and have his child? Later that night, Joel and Tommy have another conversation. Joel reveals Ellie is immune and that he wants Tommy to take Ellie to the Fireflies because Joel is suffering from PTSD and is afraid he can't protect Ellie anymore. Ellie secretly listens to the conversation. Despite being hardened from the apocalypse for the past 2 decades, Joel's trauma is catching up to him. I like this scene because it shows despite how tough someone can be, sooner or later the trauma catches up to you if you don't deal with it. Tommy agrees to take Ellie. Later, Joe and Ellie have a conversation. Ellie has trouble understanding what girls were worried about before the apocalypse. To her, it makes no sense that girls worried about little things, such as liking boys and what clothes to wear. Ellie is upset about Joel wanting to leave. Joel gets defensive about his daughter, stating Ellie doesn't know what loss is. Ellie comes back saying everyone has died or left her except for Joel, showing that she does understand what loss is. But Joel doesn't budge, stating that they are nothing like father or daughter, and that they will go their separate ways. However, Joel remembers his daughter Sarah and realizes he does see Ellie as a daughter. The next morning, Tommy takes Ellie and they prepare to leave. On their way out, they run into Joel, who decides to continue his journey with Ellie. Joel and Ellie say their farewells to Tommy. On their way to Colorado, Joel teaches Ellie how to shoot and talks about the old world. They arrive at a Firefly outpost at a university, but find it abandoned. They find a map of Firefly traveling routes converging on Salt Lake City. Raiders arrive and Joel and Ellie attempt to leave, but Joel is attacked and wounded before they can escape. The episode ends with Joel collapsing from blood loss. Ellie panics and doesn't know what to do. The first half of the season was solid, but episode 6 starts to show the cracks in the show. We get to see the progression of Joel and Ellie's relationship and how they are slowly becoming more like father and daughter. However, this whole thing about Jackson, Wyoming now being a communist settlement was not just out of left field, but also unnecessary. Like it was just thrown in there for reasons. Please comment below, as I'd like to hear your own thoughts about episode 6. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Deviant, and thanks for watching.